And welcome to the very next episode of The Remedy with Tova Sido and
Janice Gaunt and
Tom Bridwell.
Woot woot.
Oh, seems like we haven't been here in a long time.
We haven't.
Yeah, because I was gone.
And because I forgot.
Yeah,
I totally forgot the last
and
time
I showed up here without my iPad, without my phone, so I couldn't call you.
How did you even get? You always have that.
Well, my phone was out of its case, and I just picked up my little purse and keys and took off. But my phone wasn't in the case.
Yeah, you always have your phone and iPod.
Yeah. Well, I don't, but I don't carry this with me except to this.
Yeah. I'm just saying when I see you, you have your iPod. Well, I'm glad we got our shit together.
This is actually an iPad, not an iPod.
Oh, sorry, iPad.
Yeah.
Yes, sorry. I did. Do they even make the pods anymore?
I don't think they make. Do
Tom,
they make iPods?
No, they don't. It's called an iPod Touch, and it's basically the old iPod.
Oh.
And then what's confusing is their ear pods are called ear pods, not iPods. It's very confusing. Or AirPods.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I was like, wait, I've been calling them AirPods.
No, they're
this whole
AirPods.
time.
I misspoke. Yeah. But yeah, they change the names up often, and it's confusing.
It is confusing.
It is confusing.
It's really confusing. Too many pods
things.
and pads and
airs.
It doesn't stop me from buying them all, though.
Oh, I know you have to get them. Then I need a new phone. Tom and I were talking about it the other day, and I'm like, it's expensive.
It is.
How much are they? They're like $1,000, aren't they?
The brand new ones are probably really expensive.
But
the 15 is coming out in late September.
Oh.
Or wait.
No, this is late September.
Did they just release it then?
Yeah. They already released it because my brother got it.
Wow.
You know what? I saw a line in front of
Apple Store.
The other day, and I bet that was it.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're coming. They're coming for us. Okay, so today we need to thank our sponsor, Jennifer Lerma. She sponsored This Week and Next.
Nice. Jennifer, thank you.
Yeah, Jennifer's a great girl. I just officiated her wedding a couple months ago.
Good.
Yeah, her and Pete are just precious.
Nice.
And she's a big fan of what we do. So
good.
Thank you, Jennifer. Okay, so I recommended that today we talk about infidelity because that's so much fun to talk about. But Tom, you said something interesting before the show started. You said, I bet the way, how much you guys meet with people, that this is something you see a lot.
Yeah.
I'm like,
part of your counseling is marriage counseling, I presume, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
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 For sure.
So I bet you hear a lot about stuff like this.
Yeah.
We do. From a lot of people you'd never suspect.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I thought maybe we could spend a little bit of time talking about just cheating. What is cheating? And then we've talked about this before on the show, but I thought it might be interesting to spend this episode talking about if you want to reconcile and recover as a couple, what does that look like?
Uh-huh.
And then next week we'll do if you want to recover and as an individual, you don't want to stay in the relationship.
Yeah.
But you get out. How do you recover as the one who has been cheated on and the cheater? I imagine there's some reconciliation with yourself with that as well. So how does that sound?
Yeah, it sounds great.
Love it.
Yeah, it sounds really
great.
So
one of the things that I talk about when I do premarital counseling is expectations and non-negotiables. Mm-hmm. What are some expectations around 6 subjects? I do emotional, physical, spiritual, intellectual, financial, and
sexual.
Sexual. Did I not say sex?
You said physical.
Okay,
but
not sexual.
Yeah.
And so, and then we move from that conversation onto the non-negotiables. They can have to do with those 6 subjects or not. But as you can imagine, I'm sure both of you and everybody listening, oftentimes I will say, okay, what are the non-negotiables? And the first thing out of their mouth is cheating. Mm-hmm. You can't cheat. I won't cheat. You can't cheat. That's a non-negotiable for me. Mm-hmm. And so the next question I ask is, okay, what is cheating?
Yeah.
To you? So is your professional opinion the same as your personal opinion about what cheating is?
Probably.
So define cheating as you see it.
So the way I see it, so if I look at my relationship and what would constitute cheating, if Tom cheated, what are the behaviors that would I consider fall under that category? Yeah. So, first of all, intercourse would be, the biggie.
Yep.
And then it would also be kissing a woman. Mm-hmm. I don't think there would be a man, but that would happen too, But if Tom kissed a woman, and if he were meeting somebody for dinner or for drinks or something like that on a consistent, if it were not business, but like if it were a quotation friendship or something like that, would probably, it depends on who that person was. And so, and those would all be deal breakers. And I actually remember when Tom and I were dating and we had a discussion about it. And another thing was, to me, was if he went to a club somewhere and was dancing with other women, like slow dancing or just on the floor with them. I mean, if there was a physical connection. Any sort of a physical connection with that would not work for me. Mm-hmm. So what about you?
All of those things fall into that category for me. I would also add pornography. That's
me too.
A non-negotiable for me.
Me too.
A strip club, getting a lap dance.
Me too.
Anything
that is
like
ridiculous.
And I love that you said that, Tom. Thank you. I agree. And then any sort of like emotional connection, like if Craig was going to work and or like, let's say he reconnected with somebody on Facebook that lived in Illinois. I'm making this up because he grew up here. But he started to connect with someone emotionally, either texting or some sort of media outlet. Like if he was like invested in a relationship that was an emotional connection outside of.
So what about a friendship, though? I mean, how do you differentiate between that being a friendship with someone and a significant? So, like Tom runs this company, and there are women that work for him.
Sure. Same with Craig.
And they're friends as well as work colleagues.
Right.
I don't think he calls them in the night and says, "Hey, what's happening? How's your weekend?" or anything like that. But when they go to, sometimes there'll be construction kind of like meetings and stuff, and so there'll be some of the women will go with Tom and the other guys and stuff. And so I'm sure, so they do talk about things other than business, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Like children or any of that.
Yes.
So that would be a little hard for me to differentiate.
I think that if it crossed the line of like, you do communicate when you don't need to communicate.
Like you just call them at night and say, "Hey, what are you doing?"
Yes. Or you text unnecessarily about things. Craig, same exact thing. He works with women. He has to go to lunch with women. He does a lot of business with women. I don't care about that at all. But I think that, I have a dear friend, and her husband is also a big, leader in a company. And one of his deals is he will not go have drinks with a woman. And he will not go just have dinner with just one woman that he works with or is doing a deal with or business with.
Is he Matt Pence or Mike Pence?
No. 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 I don't know who that is. I mean, I know he's political, but I don't know him
apparently
personally.
He's the same way. He doesn't go anywhere alone with a woman ever.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think if you're in a political position there's pretty strict rules when you're a pastor about spending time alone with people of the opposite sex. But I definitely think that being friendly with people I don't think that's cheating, but I think that there's just a line crossing of like we're connecting in a way that we don't need to connect. I would not like that.
I want to go back, if it's okay.
Yeah.
I think you misunderstood what I was saying when I said that's terrible. I think that the strip club thing, first of all, let me preface this by saying I hate strip clubs. Nothing is more disgusting to me than going and spending money for some girl to dance on you. And I just think they're gross. They're absolutely gross.
Right.
But I know a few guys who do that on the regular, and they tell their wives they're doing it, and sometimes they even bring their wives because their wives think it's fun sometimes. But I don't really necessarily think that if you're being upfront about going to a strip club that would be considered cheating. I mean,
well, and I think
agree.
that's the thing about cheating is that, and why it's so important that people talk about it
and define it.
You know, because there is
really important.
I mean, clearly if somebody has a sexual affair with somebody, then that's cheating.
Right.
But depending on all the other things.
Yeah, there's a lot of gray.
Yeah.
And then you said porn before that, and that one is kind of strange because, I mean, we all masturbate. Everyone masturbates. And so I'm wondering, like, even if my wife, when she masturbates, if she watches porn to help that, I would not consider that to be cheating at all.
Well, and that's a deal that you two you feel comfortable with.
And we've never talked about it, but I know, I mean, I just feel like if that's what she does to help her, then
and
that's
so
cool.
I would say,
I almost don't want to know, but I would not be mad if I found out she watched porn.
So I would say, as long as it works for the two of you, it's kind of like what you have said, Janice, before. Like, I don't want to do a threesome, and if some of my friends are doing that, I would rather not know. I don't think anybody I know does that, but maybe.
But if Craig and Tom, if they masturbate, like
to pornography, do I have a problem with that? Absolutely,
I do too.
Yeah, I hear you, but I guess what I'm trying to say is, from a man's perspective, it's really hard. Like in high school, I could do it with just my mind. You know what I'm saying? But now that with all experience and age and all that, it takes a little extra help, and I don't know.
And as long as you're okay with it and your bride is okay with it, then I
don't think she knows.
she does now.
And that's fine.
But I do think, to your point, Tom, that's why I really like to have that conversation with couples before they get married, because so many couples say that, and then I say, what does that mean to you? And then they'll say, oh, you can't have sex and you can't have an emotional affair with somebody that you work with, and and I'm like, okay, what about pornography? And they're like, oh, I've never thought about that.
Yep.
Every last one of them says that. And then some of them fall on the side. Oh, I don't care about that. I don't we kind of have a no ask, no tell.
Yep.
And I'm like, if that works for you, great. But there was one couple that and he did look at pornography and she didn't know. And she was like, oh my God, like I have a huge problem with that.
Yeah.
And so it's really important, I think, to communicate about where the line is for you before you before you're in a relationship with somebody.
I think so too. I think that it's and it's not like it's right or wrong. In other words, if you put it out there and you say, okay, this is a wrong thing to have happen, but it depends on people, because there are really people. Does. I know people who I have had a couple of clients who they do act out with other couples. They travel with other couples and have and switch off,
switcheroo,
like actually swing and stuff.
Yep. Yeah.
That's crazy.
And there's a swingers club, that some of them go to.
That seems weird to me. I don't think I could do that.
No. Me neither.
It makes me so upset even just thinking about that.
Do you know that the apparently the symbol for that is an upside down pineapple?
Told me. You taught us this. You taught us this. Yes.
I didn't even know this until a few months ago, because somebody that saw our pineapple door knocker told me.
Don't put that sucker upside down. You'll have people come knocking on.
Knock,
oh my gosh.
Here we are.
Hilarious.
I don't know how relationships survive that.
Yeah.
I don't either.
I really don't. I do not have that. I feel like the prudest girl in the world when somebody talks about. I'm like, I don't even want to talk about it. It's so, I don't know. It's so egregious to me. I hope no listeners feel like I would judge them, but it's just.
Oh, I think you are. I'm always really, I would never do it, but I'm so curious, and I always ask a bunch of questions.
Oh, I would too.
As to,
how does that work?
It's very, very interesting, and that's the thing about the definition of infidelity that is so important, that people really know what their value system is, and then they communicate it with their partner, because so that you just are on the same page. I don't know. I mean, I don't want. I mean, it's not okay with me for Tom to go to strip clubs, and
it's not okay with me either.
Yeah,
I would not like that at all.
Yeah. So, but I know that there are a lot of people who do that, and I know that there are couples who do that together.
Yep.
And so I just think that it's so difficult to talk about with people, because I think people are afraid to be really honest about it. So like when they're dating somebody and they're like, okay, well, that's cool. You can go ahead and go with all your friends and all of that. I don't care. So they're trying to be cool and understanding and all of that.
They're young. Everybody's going to bachelor parties.
And they're thinking, okay, I don't want to lay down a bunch of rules, because he might say, well, see ya. Right. And
it's only been 6 months and you're still in the fantasy phase.
Yeah,
you're still being a liar.
That's kind of like so we've covered the sort of raunchy, sort of grody ways to be infidelity.
Grody ways.
I'm curious more about the more practical ways that infidelity could happen, and that would be like a coworker or somebody from your church, or just somebody that you meet, and you just kind of, I don't know, this thing develops and you can't really stop it, and I don't know. I'm curious to know if that's like a major thing for some of your clients.
Say more about that, Tom.
I guess what I mean is, it's one thing to go cheat at a strip club or watch porn, but like, what if infidelity starts in like this kind of very organic way where
I think most of the time it does.
I do too. Exactly. I really do.
Like, you're not looking for it.
Exactly. You're not looking for it. And
you're not seeking it.
You build up this kind of first very cool, intimate bond platonically. And then, like a year and a half later, you find that you're attracted to each other.
I think it happens all the time.
I do too. And I think especially if the person or people are getting something beyond what they're getting at home.
Absolutely.
It's really easy to slip into that. Oh my gosh, she understands me. Oh, he's so supportive. All the time. and all of that. And so, yeah.
It gets me.
Mean, yeah.
And, I mean, I know that you've heard a lot about cheating. I mean, cheating sex is not real sex. Like, I think that when you go down that road, first of all, you probably, to your point, Tom, have some sort of emotional connection. And then you kind of seal the deal with some sort of physical connection. And I think that a lot of people who cheat are not getting something in their marriage that they have found in another person, which is totally reasonable to expect because people are so different.
Right.
I mean, if I went and did something outside of being with Craig, it wouldn't be Craig. So I would be experiencing something different. And so, and that's going to feel new and exciting and fun. And I mean, I've heard it all. You've heard it all, you know? And then all of a sudden sparks are flying, passion is going. And then, you go home, you've been married for 15 years, you've got 3 kids. It's like, you're hanging on by a thread to maybe have sex once or twice, a month or whatever. And then you go to work and, go have lunch and like, it's all hands on deck. It's so exciting.
Mm-hmm. And she's lying, saying, well, I do it all the time.
What do you mean?
I mean, that then the woman is going to present themselves to this guy. If she's trying to get in with this guy, she's going to be taught everything. Oh, yeah, I do that. I would do that. I would do that.
And she and he are more than likely going to fulfill all the things that because they're probably talking with one another about what they're not getting at home.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so how easy is it for the new person to become that very thing that other person's not getting?
Yeah. And that's why it's such a slippery slope. It's why people need to be, if they want to make sure that they keep their marriage faithful, then you want to be careful of that, because those friendships, especially if somebody is working really hard and they're traveling or something like that, and then you're missing something and you feel kind of lonely, and then somebody enters your world, or an old friend or an old boyfriend, you get an email or a text from an old boyfriend saying, I'm in town. There was a guy that I dated, and he was in town, and he texted me and said, do you want to go have a drink? And I asked Tom if he would go with me to have a drink with this person. And he said, well, you can go if you want by yourself. And I said, no, I really don't want to do that, because there was a connection there in the past, and I didn't want to do that. Yeah. I don't want to set myself up for that. Right. Because it is a slippery slope.
It is a slippery slope. And we are all just human.
And we you're thinking, oh, remember how fun that was. And, so you just don't, it's just, I think people need to be really careful about it. If that is something that they want to remain in their marriage, then I think that being faithful, you have to kind of look at all of those avenues.
Yeah. I had a guy that I went to college with. I dated him freshman year, and I was crazy about this guy. And we were crazy about each other. We dated our whole freshman year at school, and he found me on Instagram and sent me a message. I was divorced, but he was still married and has kids. And he reached out, and I was like, oh, wow. Blast from the past. It was really fun to hear from him. And then, he was kind of over communicating. And then he said something like, my parents have always said that you were the one that got away. And he was like, and I agree. And I was like, oh boy. Yeah. We are entering into a zone I don't want to be in, and I never said anything back. And I have not communicated with him since. And it's like that, to your point, I think it would be so easy to slide back into, oh my God, he was the best and we had so much fun together. I mean, it would be easy.
Yeah, it really would be. Mm-hmm. So, and I just think I could never live with myself.
Well, I think it's really difficult for people to live with themselves.
I do too.
Who go down that road. I don't know what kind of personality you would have to do that without it bothering you.
Well, I think that sometimes what happens with people is they're unhappy in their marriage, and it's not turning out to be what they thought it was going to be, and they've been married for, 10, 15 years, and, they don't get along, they squabble and all of that, and then they fantasize about what could have been, would have been, should have been, and that can be...
Or what could be.
Or what could be, yeah.
Man, if I went this way, it could be really different.
And it would probably be terrible. I mean, I could not live with myself.
I could not live with myself.
So what would you do if Craig cheated?
I would leave him.
Yeah.
That is just that's not something that I want to get over and work through. But I know you would too.
I would.
What would you do, Tom?
If Maureen cheated,
yeah,
I would definitely leave her.
Do you think she would leave you?
No, she would beg to please work it out. But I, honest to God, I know Maureen would never cheat. I just know she wouldn't. Yeah. The funny that there was something you mentioned earlier in that previous conversation. It's interesting. I know you guys remember a few episodes back. I told you that I had a Mrs. Robinson.
Right. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And when that was over, like really over, and it had been like 2 years since we had been physical. We've stayed friends even to this day. I had a girlfriend after. I almost said her name.
After her.
I had a girlfriend.
Robinson.
Yes, and that girl, we'll call her C-Trav, my girlfriend after. She was jealous of me talking to Mrs. Robinson because she was jealous of our
connection,
like our bond, like the fact that we could communicate so well. Like
and the way that you talk about her.
Well, yeah, because she's amazing. I mean, she's super smart. And
you admired her.
Yes,
or do admire her.
Yes, absolutely. But then, conversely, Maureen, my wife, does not even care one bit about me. Talking to Vicky, showing her pictures of Betty. Just chatting for like 4 hours on the telephone. She just doesn't care because she trusts me. It's just interesting that neither of them would be. Nobody was worried about any physical thing, but one of them was jealous of the mental part. And
I would be too.
And Maureen
that'd be
not.
Hard for me.
Yeah,
it's interesting to me.
I think I'm so glad that works for the two of you, but I probably would lean if I'm with Craig and he had that kind of connection with a girlfriend from his past, that would not work for me. Yeah. That'd be hard for me. What about you?
Well,
this is from afar. Like, she lives in Dallas, but we don't see each other. It's all phone.
Well, oh, so y'all talk on the phone?
We talk on the phone and we text.
Yeah, we just said for like 4 hours.
We don't see each other ever.
Oh, yeah. I would not want that because I would be fearful that it would slip into something else, and
especially if you've had a physical connection with that person.
Yeah,
and it's not like every call's 4 hours. I said that because when I drove home from at the end of the summer, right before we put Philly down, I drove home from Colorado, and we talked on the phone like a lot of that trip, just because we had so much catching up to do. But I hear what you're saying. Like, it's whether it's texting, having coffee, talking on the phone. I mean, I'm just lucky that my wife is way cool with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because C-Trav wasn't.
Yeah.
Neither would have TS.
Yeah, or JG.
But you know what? That's, I think, what makes the world go around. And I don't know. I know what my rules and boundaries are and what I feel safe and comfortable with. I'm wondering, Janice, because we have both been cheated on.
Yeah.
Do you think that makes an impact on our leash, for lack of a better word?
Yeah, I think that once you have experienced someone cheating,
that trauma,
I think that I think we have a trauma spot around that, and I think that paranoia or that that fear of that happening again, because it's so painful when it happens.
Was that the reason your previous marriage came to an end?
Me?
Yes.
No.
Okay.
No.
It was mine.
Okay, I got you.
And so that probably, before, when I was married to Topher, my radar was not as up as it is now, and I do know that.
I hear that.
Yeah,
it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Well, and because you and I hear about it a lot,
we do, by people that
nobody I know
would expect.
I know.
So when this couple who on Instagram and in the community is such a pillar, and yet they have such a deviant side life, and you see it and you learn about it, you're like, damn. Like you and I both know that this happens a lot.
It does.
And Tom, to your point, I felt like, how could I be so stupid? I mean, you heard me talk about it, and I wasn't stupid.
No.
I wasn't running around checking my husband's phone because I didn't want to be in that kind of marriage. I didn't even ever think that this was a possibility.
Yeah. Did you ever check his phone?
Never.
Yeah, I don't
even think I knew his password.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, never. I never checked his phone. I never checked his computer.
Yeah, I don't check. I've never checked Tom's phone for anything like that.
Well, did he give you, when the rubber met the road, did he give you a reason why he did what he did?
Well, he'd been doing it for a really long time, and it was different people. So
okay, so he was basically not capable of monogamy.
That's right.
Okay. See, I can relate because I never was going to get married.
Yeah.
And I truly let my guard down on that because Maureen is so awesome. Like, I fell in love with her brain.
Sweet.
She's the coolest chick. But monogamy is tough. It's a hard concept. It's tough.
For you.
I mean, I'm not saying I'm a cheater. I'm just saying I can see how
you like variety.
I will 100% admit that I look at other women whenever I'm out in public. I just window shop.
I think
so. Do you what them? I mean, like, do you fantasize about that?
No, because that's kind of grody. But I mean, I love looking at like beautiful women, and I think to myself,
I don't think you're strange there.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people appreciate handsome or
yes.
There's not a world where I'm dumb enough to think that Craig doesn't look at another woman.
Well, if a beautiful one, I remember when. I dated a guy, and whenever a pretty woman walked by, I mean, he lingered, and he was.
I don't like that.
Eye-effing the woman, and it was that ogling sort of a slurpy sort of a thing.
Slurpy.
It was like, I'm
That's
sitting
gross.
here. I'm actually right next to you.
and so. And it was just creepy, It was just creepy.
I do not like that.
And
feeling.
me neither. And so when, the first time Tom and I had a real dinner date, we were sitting there, and this really beautiful woman walked into the restaurant, and I watched him to see what he did with that. And he looked at her. And looked at her, and then
noticed her.
He noticed her, and then looked right back at me. I looked at her too. Mm-hmm. She was beautiful, but I wasn't wanting to be sexual with her, and and neither was Tom. Yeah. I mean, he could have thought about it, but he didn't oogle it, you know, and all of that. So there's such a huge difference in noticing, you know, or
and
if there's a really good-looking man, I'm going to notice that.
Of course.
You know, so
our heart is still beating.
Well, we notice beauty and attraction and all sorts of things, but there's just such a difference when there's an oozing energy around it that can be really, really uncomfortable.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
very much so.
Seinfeld said it's like looking at the sun. You just get a glimpse and look away.
Yes, that's perfect.
That's exactly right. And when I was sitting at dinner that night with Tom, and he looked at her, and then he looked back at me, and I was like, check.
Yes.
It was just one thing on my list that was really important to me.
Too.
And I appreciated it very, very much. And I never get that sort of energy.
No, I don't from Craig at all.
Yeah.
He is, I mean, I really think Maureen, Tom, and Craig are the last people on the planet who would ever cheat. Is anybody capable of it? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I said to Craig one time, I was like, I swear if Giselle was dancing naked in front of you, you would be like, you would move her and be like, where's Tova? And he, without pause, he was like, why would I look at Giselle when I can look at you? And I'm like,
that's nice.
And that's how he makes me feel.
Uh-huh.
And so I don't have any.
Well, you feel safe.
I feel so safe with Craig. And I think everybody deserves to feel safe.
Yep.
And secure in their relationships. And especially for you and I coming out of a situation where we have been cheated on. I mean, there's just so much trauma with that. And so, you know, a lot of times people, like Craig doesn't understand that because that's never been something he's had to go through.
Yeah.
And so he doesn't get my fears, but he is a great holder of my fears.
Yeah.
Which I really, really, really appreciate.
Yeah.
You know, but he has said a couple times, like, I feel like I kind of pay for somebody else's sins. And I was like, I understand. I really understand that.
Yeah.
Because I can have fear, which is false experience appearing real in our relationship about other women.
Yeah.
But I also know if I didn't trust him, I wouldn't be with him.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's just so comforting to be with somebody that you trust.
Yes.
I mean, and I'm not stupid. I mean, it could happen.
Right.
But, you know, I'd live through it.
Of course.
And I'd leave.
Yep. I know you would leave.
Oh, I would in a Jack Flash minute.
And Tom would leave too, wouldn't he?
Yeah, I think he would.
Yeah. I know Craig would. I hope he would.
Let's table this for now. And in part 2, let's talk about
how to recover.
Yes.
How to reconcile.
Okay.
Way to go, producer. Way to keep us on track.
Way to go.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, we hope this is helpful. I feel like we created a problem. We didn't give a remedy to the problem.
But we're soon to remedy it.
Soon to remedy.